Hi guys, my name is Sophia and I'm the 1 in 1.3. Welcome to the family. In this video, I'm going to be talking to you about what are the best ways, the best methods you can use to help your child to learn how to read. So maybe you've got a preschooler, a child whose age may be 2 to 3 years old, maybe your child is getting ready to go to school, to reception, or maybe you've just got a child at home who you are home educating and you think they're ready to learn how to read. Now, before I get into the depth and the meat of the video, I would like to say that when you're teaching your child how to read, the first thing you need to really be doing is reading lots of books to your child. Immerse your child in books, books, books. I can't stress that enough. Your child should be reading books. It could be a book that they've read 1,000 times and they keep asking you, Mummy, can you read it again? Daddy, can you read it again? Daddy, can you read me this book? Those sort of books are the best books to read because your child is obviously engaged in the story and they're learning something different every single time. So read lots of books to your children, get them to see what it sounds like to read a story, change your voice, make it very animated and very descriptive when you're reading to your child. So I would say reading books to your child is very, very important. Once you've been doing lots of reading for your child, or maybe at the same time as reading to your child, you should also be singing lots of songs to your child, lots of nursery rhymes that have lots of repetition. Things like Incy Wincy Spider, the spider that climbs up the spout. You could have things like Old MacDonald. I like Old MacDonald's. I also use a bit of Maccaton when I teach Old MacDonald's, but I'll do that in another video. I'll show you some of my favourite nursery rhymes and favourite songs that I've used when teaching children about songs and rhyme and phonics. But songs are very good, things like Well Well Black Sheep, you've got things like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, all of those things that you've read, all of those songs that you've used when you were a child, sing those with your children and get them to learn about rhyme from an early age. Those things are really good in teaching your child how to read. So what this video is going to be about today is about using sounds to help your child learn how to read, and we also blend a few tricky words in there, but I'll show you how to do that, okay? Before I go on again, there's a few vocabulary words that you might hear me just say, which are teacher words. So if you come across these words, I want you to know what I'm talking about. So I might be talking about letter sounds, and what that means is the letter sounds are basically the sounds that the letters make. So this letter is the letter B, but the sound it makes is the sound B. Okay, so B is the letter, B is the sound. We're not going to focus on the letter names at this early stage of teaching your child how to read, but using the program that I'm going to show you, the letter names will come a lot later. It will all make sense in a moment, okay? So another sound could be, the letter name is E, but we're going to say E, okay? Once your child has learnt a few sounds, then they will be moving on to learning the letter names anyway. So if you hear me say things like letter sound and letter names, you now know what I'm talking about. You may also hear me talk about blending and segmenting, okay? So when a child is segmenting the sounds, they're basically breaking the sounds apart, okay? So they're segmenting the sounds. So let's look at a common word, a common CVC word. I'll tell you what CVC is in a minute. A common CVC word is like dog. Dog has a D, O, and G in there. So when we're reading dog, we would say D, O, G. And then we'll blend it together to say dog. D, O, G, dog. Cat, K-at, cat. So I segment it by breaking it apart and then I blend it together. So if you hear me say the word segment, you know that I mean I'm breaking those sounds, I've split the sounds up. And if you hear me say the word blend, that means I'm blending the sounds together to make a word. Also, another tip when you're teaching your child how to read, this is once they've learnt a few sounds, try to get them to run the sound over to the next sound. So with the word dog, again, it wouldn't be D or G, because it's hard for them to try to bring those sounds together. So you want to make their tongue run on a bit further, so it'll be D or G, dog, okay? Cat, K-at, cat. Okay, so we've segmented and we've blended those sounds together. So again, when I was training as a teacher, we used a document called Letters and Sounds. You can still find it online. It's archived now, but you can still find it online. It's a really good document. It's a bit more teacher friendly than parent friendly, because it's a lot more, it's obviously being used for teachers within their training. But there's other workbooks out there that you can also use. I'll put some links in the bio at the bottom that you can probably use if you're looking for a phonic program. And I'll tell you a bit more about my course at the end as well. So there's a particular order that we learn when teaching your child phonics. Now this might surprise you, but actually when you're teaching your child how to read, you're not going to be following the letters of the alphabet. Now the alphabet is fantastic and it helps us to find an order. Alphabet can be really good for things like learning how to use a dictionary. The dictionary is listed in alphabetical order, and there's many other things that the alphabet is useful for, but I'm not going to go into that right now. But for now, there's a particular order that we use when teaching our child how to read. And also within the order, it's also broken down into phases. Because like I explained at the beginning of this video, I'm using the letters and sounds method. Some schools would use different methods, like I've heard of Read, Write, Ink, I think it's called. That method, the order is slightly different. Even with Jolly Phonics, which we also incorporate that into letters and sounds in terms of the actions that we use for each sound, because every sound has an action attached to it as well. We also use methods like robot arms to help the child segment and blend. The phonics program that I use in teaching children is Letters and Sounds, which also incorporates a little bit of Jolly Phonics. There are 6 phases: phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, and phase 5 and phase 6. Phase 1 is really about the sounds in the environment, like musical sounds, sounds that animals make, sounds that they hear outside in the environment. Phase 2 is the sounds of the alphabet, but in a very different order. Then you have phase 3, which builds up again on some unique 2-letter sounds or 3-letter sounds. Then you have phase 4, which deals with CBC words and CBCC words and polysyllabic words and all of these other words. Then you have phase 5, which again builds upon the sounds you've learned earlier, but the sounds are alternative sounds to what you've already learned. And then you have phase 6, which is more like spellings now, which deals with things like suffix and prefixes, things like that. Right now I'm going to show you the sounds in phase 2. So there you have it. They're the sounds that we learn in phase 2. Okay, and as you can see, the order is slightly different from how you maybe have imagined it to be. Some of you may have already taught your child letter names, and maybe you've taught them how to write using capital letters. Oh, I remember when I was teaching once, I had a little boy who was, his parent had taught him how to write every letter of the alphabet using uppercase letters. They taught him all the letter names, and he was really advanced, he was really a clever boy. But obviously when you learn the letter names, it's very hard to bring those letters together to make a word. So for example, if I had the word hat, and the child was written with capital H, capital A, and capital T, if they've learnt H-A-T, how are they going to read the word hat? H-A-T, H-T, H-T. It doesn't sound anything like hat. And also the letters are, when they move a bit further on in learning how to write sentences and things like that, this is not how the word would be written, unless you're shouting or want to bring your point across. If it is a name, we use a capital letter, and if it's a proper noun, we use a capital letter. But this is rarely how you would see words written. Okay, so we would teach children how to write the H using lowercase letters like this, the A using lowercase letters like this, and the T using lowercase letters. So with the phonics sounds that I've showed you over here, they're all written in lowercase letters, and this is the order that we'd follow from the top down to the bottom. Okay, so the first one we would say S. Now some of you may say S, but S, again, if you say S, it's not going to really help your child read it. So if I look at the word sat, if the child tries to read the word sat as S-A-T, it doesn't sound right. If they say the S sound as S, they can go right into the other letters. Sat. Okay? It's really important that you know what each letter sounds like before teaching the sounds to your child. In my next video, I'll be going through all the sounds in order, and I'll be showing you some of the actions that the sounds make, so that you have that there to teach your child. If you can't be bothered to wait, you can also click at the bottom, click down on the link below. I've got a phase 2 phonics course where I've explained all this to you, and it's all written in order, which includes worksheets that you could use with your child, and all you really have to do is just pause the video and do the activities with your child. So that's on offer as well at the bottom, but for now let's keep going. So the sounds are s, a, t, p, I, d, g, o, k, k, k. So over here, the k, the c and the k together, you wouldn't say k, k. No, it just makes one sound. I'll do a line underneath that to show it makes one sound. K, e, a, Now this one's a bit tricky again as well, because some children will say r, and again it's not r like we said for the s, that's not sir, so it's b. So again, this one over here has got two F's together, but they make one sound. Then you've got one sound, and s, one sound. So you can use flashcards to help your child. They're really helpful in teaching your child the sound. You just flash the card at your child, get them to say it, move on to the next one. G, And if you learn the actions as well, it makes it even better. So for example, s will be like a snake. Like ants going up your hands. So you show them all the different actions, and it helps them to remember. The sound helps them to remember what the action is. So they are the first sounds what you would teach your child. Now in my course I have below, I break these up even further into sets, because you teach maybe a sound a day. So for the first set would possibly be these four over here. You would teach those four sounds first. Because what we want to do with these sounds, we want to get our children reading from very early. So as you can see, once a child has learned these four sounds, they can already start blending the sounds together to make words. It's really good. So let me show you. So this will show us very early on, it will show your child very early on that they can read words. Even if you just look at those sounds there, those four sounds over here, which words do you think you can make from them? Can you make any words with these yourself? Okay, well I can make the word as, well so it more sounds like as, but you can show your child it's as. I can make the word sat. Good. I can make the word tap. Is there any more that you can make? I can make the word hat. Well done. And then you keep going like that. There's many words that you can use just from learning these four sounds already. Can you see that how if you teach your child the letter sounds, your child could be learning how to read simple words within a week. Yeah, within a week. Spend time on one sound. So with these sounds over here, it could take about 15 minutes a day with your preschooler or your child, and you basically look at each sound and you immerse your child in that sound. So on a Monday, for example, if you teach your child the letter S, which is a S sound, you could introduce the sound to your child by showing them what it looks like. So you say to your child, okay, this is the letter S, it makes the sound S. What sound does it make? S. Show them the action. S for snake. You could even use a Jolly Phonics songs and sing songs based on this sound. You could then do activities with your child, getting them to practice writing the S sound. You could put some rice in a tray and then get them to use their finger to practice writing the sound on their sound on the tray. Once your child has learned the sound and recognises the sound, it's really important that you get them to practice writing the sound as well. This is why I say you don't need to really necessarily introduce writing to your child really quickly. Okay, so once they've learnt these four, they would move on to the next four. So the next four would be these two over here. So your child would learn those sounds. Once they've learnt those sounds as well, can you see how they'll be able to read lots more words? For example, now they can also read the word with the it included. They could read words like pit, it, pit. They can also read words like sit, it, sit. They can also read words like, take away the t, pin. Okay, so there you have it. Teach your child these letter sounds and it will help them to practice reading simple words. So that's just for phase 2. And the reason why these sounds are contained into phases is because when you get into other phases, there's different rules that are applied to it also. You also teach your child tricky words, which are like sight words. And the tricky words are words that can't be sounded out within this stage. So within phase 2, there are 6 main words that they will learn that can't be sounded out using this method. So one of the words would be to. Your child needs to just learn that when they see this word, they will learn to just say the word to. Another one will be the. No, go, I, and into. Okay? The is a tricky word. If they try to sound it out using these sounds over here, it's not going to flow really well. T, h, e, it wouldn't be the same. The reason why is because the does not sound, you can't really sound it out phonetically. And also the E is a vowel. So at the beginning of the video I said I'll talk to you about simple CVC words. So some of the words I just made over here come under CVC words. CVC stands for consonant, vowel, and then consonant. And that basically means that the first letter that you see will be a consonant. So one of the ones I had before was like pit. P is a consonant. I is a vowel. And is a consonant. So within phase 2, we have lots of CVC words that are taught to the child. Okay. So the is a tricky word. No, the same thing. In phase 2, the O sound says O, not O, so it wouldn't sound very right. So no would be a tricky word. Go is a tricky word. I is a tricky word because in phase 2, you're teaching the sound I. And then into would be a tricky word as well. In could be sounded out, in, and then to. Okay, so in phase 2, that is what you teach your child. So you can pause this video and you can write these down on a piece of paper and you can teach your child 4 letters a week like this, and within no time they'll be learning how to read. It takes lots of practice and it's not as easy as it looks over here, but you can do this very simply at home. So there you have it. Okay, let's move on to phase 3.